Hello everyone, welcome to Live from Abuja, reaching you from Nigeria's capital city. On the show, we'll take you through major events that shaped the week in Nigeria and across the world. So sit back, keep your feet up, relax, and enjoy the show. I am Ademola Lawrence. It's indeed an interesting week gone by. So many activities happening in Nigeria, but of course, in the past 1 week, President Bola Tinubu has visited 2 key nations in a bid to only strengthen stronger ties, but also to sell Nigeria for more investment growth. The Kingdom of Netherlands and Saudi Arabia were top of the list of this recent official visit by the president of Africa's most populous nation. His first stop was at The Hague, Netherlands, where high-level discussions and engagements with the Prime Minister, as well as King William Alexandra and Queen Maxima of the Kingdom, formed the event of the visit. Riyadh, capital city of Saudi Arabia, played host to the president on the second leg of his visit, where he participated in the 2024 Special World Economic Forum. Over 1,000 leaders from business, government, and academia from more than 90 countries attended the high-profile forum.
For Nigeria, we're immensely consistent with our belief that the economic collaboration and inclusiveness is necessary to engender stability in the rest of the world. Concerning the question of the subsidy removal, there's no doubt that it was a necessary action for my country not to go bankrupt. 1, to reset the economy and the pathway to growth. It is going to be difficult, but the hallmark of leadership is taking difficult decisions at the time it ought to be taken decisively. That was necessary for the country. Yes, there have been blowback. There is expectation that the inequality in it will be felt by a greater number of the people. But once, I believe it was their interest that is the focus of the government. It is easier to manage and explain the difficulties. Along the line, there is a parallel arrangement to really cushion the effect of the subsidy removal on the vulnerable population of the country. We share the pain across board. We cannot but include those who are very vulnerable. Luckily, we have a very vibrant, youthful population interested in discoveries by themselves and highly ready for technology, good education, committed to growth. We were able to manage that and partition the economic drawback and the fallout of the subsidy.
While the president was selling the country in Saudi Arabia and Netherlands, back home in Nigeria, workers in Nigeria converged on Eagle Square in Abuja to mark the 2024 May Day, despite effort by the government to ensure the effective increase and implementation of the new minimum wage. Organized labor remains unpleased as seeking results. The government had given a 35% increase in the minimum wage of workers, but this was rejected by Nigerian Labour Congress.
When Nigeria joined other nations to commemorate May 1st as Workers' Day it has not looked back. Every year, workers use the opportunity of the celebration to speak to their challenges and success stories. This year, it is the first for the Bola Tinubu's administration, and the president is represented here by the Vice President Kashim Shettima. Organized labor conveyed workers' dissatisfaction over the increasing economic hardship that is biting hard on the people. They are even more worried that a new minimum wage is yet to be decided and consequently issued a deadline.
Should the minimum wage negotiation continue and linger till the end of May, we can no longer guarantee industrial harmony in this country.
Organized labor is equally not pleased with the recent hike in electricity tariff.
The NLC and TUC hereby advise NEC and power sector operators to reverse the last increase in electricity tariff within the next 1 week.
But the government says it is not oblivious of the challenges the nation faces and promises to continue to prioritize citizens' welfare.
To reassure Nigerian workers that we are working diligently around the clock with organized labor to conclude negotiations and ensure a successful outcome. Our commitment is unwavering.
The federal government convened a 37-member tripartite committee on minimum wage. The committee's mandate was to provide counsel and suggest a national minimum wage that aligns with our current economic conditions. Unfortunately, despite concerted efforts, the committee was unable to reach a consensus at its last meeting. These shall be resolved soon, and I assure you that your days of worrying are over. Indeed, this government is open to the committee's suggestion of not just a minimum wage, but a living wage.
And on 4 stations, the lingering increase at the filling station is easing off as more products come into major cities in the country. Some motorists in Nigeria's capital city confirmed that the situation has improved compared to the past week. Lagos and Abuja were hit by scarcity of the petroleum motor spirit from last week. After several days, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited revealed that there's a sufficient supply of petrol to go round in the city, as it reaffirms that a lot more supply of the product will be shipped in within the coming days. The agency also says it's determined to clamp down on any fuel station found hoarding the product or shortchanging Nigerians.
In the recent past, there have been claims and counter-claims between NNPCL Limited and the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria over who is responsible for the ongoing fuel scarcity. NNPC insists there is enough product and that the queues will soon disappear, while IPMA says the scarcity will persist for the next 2 weeks. NNPC Limited has maintained its claims that there is sufficient product and the queues will soon disappear. Motorists at some fuel stations confirm that the situation has improved compared to the past week.
As we speak today, we have 12 vessels laden with over 1 billion liters of PMS on our waters. And in the next 5 days, we have another 5 coming with over 600 million liters of PMS. So the issue is not supply. Supply is abundant. We've had tightness in the distribution network, and I'm glad to say that as NNPC, we're not just the supplier of last resort. We are also coordinating the industry efforts to address this situation. And I see how things have worked in the last couple of days. I'm very much assured that this situation will fizzle out in the next few days. Today alone, we've moved over 250 trucks into Lagos. We've moved over 150 into Abuja. We've moved over 70 into Kano, about 40 into Kaduna.
Let's say there's a little different. Like today is better. There are times we spend like 3 hours at the filling station. There are times we spend more.
NMDPRA also restates its determination to clamp down on any fuel station found hoarding the product or shortchanging Nigerians.
Pricing is a sensitive thing. Whilst it's an open market, but we also know what the proper cost and price should be. And so we're working with FCCPC to ensure that consumers are protected. And as a responsible regulator, we will not shy from sanctioning any depot, any retail outlet that is either hoarding products or taking advantage of Nigeria with profiteering, receiving funds from marketers and operators, and paying transporters as well to close down the equalization fund. As we speak, we've been disbursing 10 billion between a few days ago and now, and transporters will begin to receive their payments as we speak.
Although there are still queues at some petrol stations, some are still locked up, but it is hoped that in the coming days, the situation will be resolved.
One of the shocking news over this week, of course, was the Suleja Correctional Center. Residents are seeking the relocation of that particular correctional center as a search in for inmates who escaped during the April 24th late-night downpour after the destruction of a part of the wall of the medium-security correctional center in Suleja, Niger State. So far, 13 inmates have been recaptured out of the 119 escapees. 106 inmates are still at large. 3 prisoners were recently recaptured through the efforts of the Correctional Service, and that says it is working with the other security agencies to track down the fleeing inmates. The inmates fled the custodian correctional center following damage of the facility caused by the last Wednesday downpour that also affected other houses within the vicinity of the prison.
Tension among residents of Suleja in the aftermath of the escape of inmates of the medium security custodial center. More than 6 days after the downpour that damaged the facility, 106 inmates are still at large. Out of the 119 that fled the custodial center, only 13 have been recaptured.
Most of our residents are having sleepless nights because of the number of the inmates that are now back in the society, of which we cannot identify these inmates. You cannot identify this criminal. We don't know the kind of crime they will commit again in the society.
Frankly speaking, we are not happy. So we are seeking if government can intervene to do something better.
The Correctional Service has not yet released the identities of the escapees from the custodial center. There are concerns that these escapees might still be lurking within the community.
You know, so most of them, they leave the prison without even money in their pocket. And hardly they can just try to bring themselves out so that maybe people will even trace them. Mostly they will be coming out maybe in the night to continue perpetrating their crime that they even leading them to the prison the other time.
Are you suggesting that some of them could be still be within?
They can be within the Suleja now. They are not going far now. Most of them, they will be within Suleja. Only few, maybe, they will just relocate outside Suleja. But most of them that are around, almost more than 100, they will be within the society.
Reflecting on the incident, the village head says the prison guards' warning shots prevented residents from intervening to halt the escapees.
There was heavy shotgun that distracted the mind of the people. So people decided to live at home. Had even they used whistle, the security of the prison used whistle, many people will come and assist them.
They want security forces to ramp up action and recapture more of the escapees.
Okay, and of course, after the break, we'll be talking about the Suleja Correctional Center. Join me after this break.
The National Assembly is a busy place. As the bastion of democracy, it is a place where bills are presented, motions debated, laws made, and the yearnings of the people are laid bare. Come with us as we take you through the workings of the National Assembly. We take you through plenary, committee meetings, and probes, all to ensure smooth working of the democratic process.
Life is politics. In Nigeria, almost every part of our lives is touched by the politics we play. Governance, legislative matters, the economy, security, foreign affairs, internal affairs, have a feel as strategic plays in the political space determine how we live in Nigeria. The players, the drama, chess piece moves. Be kept informed. Watch analysis of major happenings in the political space and how it affects you. Watch Politics on Sunday.
Some stories on the headline news. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are planning on a visit to Nigeria in May for talks on the Invictus Games and to explore Nigeria's potential as the host country in the future. And the federal government has paid compensation of 2.7 billion to affected properties owners of the corridors of Lagos-Calabar 3-kilometer project coastal highway. And Lagos State is by a ghastly gas explosion has injured at least 9 residents living near the site. Among those affected were a pregnant woman, children, and several adults. This comes after a similar event took place days earlier in the neighboring Ogun State after a gas tanker explosion. And court grant EFCC request to freeze at least 1,146 banks accounts belonging to individuals and companies over the allegations of unauthorized dealing in foreign exchange. And still in court with a developing story as the EFCC and popular socialite Cubana chief priest are set to settle out of court as the court sits to hear the report of settlement on the 5th of June. And in business, a few days ago, the Nigerian surged against the US dollar, reaching a robust rate of 1,275 to a dollar. At the parallel markets, this remarkable 9.8% increase over the previous rate highlights a significant recovery for the currency. And outside Nigeria, Kenya authorities have postponed the reopening of its schools by 1 week due to ongoing flooding caused by heavy rains, as flood-related deaths have neared 100. In Tanzania, President Suluhu's Workers' Day addressed salary pension issues. And those are some of the stories in the headlines. Let's now go back to our story on the Suleja Correctional Center, what happened over the week. And, of course, joining me on the show is Chidi. Mr. Chidi, good morning. Can you hear me, Mr. Chidi? Hello, Mr. Chidi. Hello. Hello. Hello, Mr. Chidi, can you hear me? Okay, so we'll get back to Mr. Chidi as we look at some of the things and, of course, how this would not happen again, what happened over the Suleja Correctional Center and of all of these things that happened, how we can mitigate against them. It is very, very important that the Suleja Correctional Center issues never happen again. Of course, the Correctional Center has been built for over 100 years. So the government should be looking into reconstruction of that particular Correctional Center. Now let's go to bullying. The issue of bullying continues to be ongoing conversation that needs to be addressed according to some experts. Since the outreach that followed the viral video of the bullying at the lead school British in Abuja, some reactions have continued not only through the incident, but also other incidents that were in the public domain before now. Many Nigerians took to social media to also speak about their own experience in the school. The widespread reaction to the video has highlighted the need to examine the extent of bullying in Nigerian schools. According to research, about 246 million children and adolescents globally are reported to experience bullying yearly, and in Africa, some studies have reported varying rates of 25%, 44.5%, and 62.8%. In Nigeria, the rate reported to us has been 33.1%, 85%. World over, secondary school students are bullied by peers with resultant harmful effects such as school results, mental health problems, vicious exhibition of bad behavior, among others. The various laws of our country, the criminal code of the various states, and the criminal procedures of states are against anybody who imposes fear or assault, irrespective of whether or not they are students. Curbing bullying requires a holistic approach from all concerned, especially the parents who are the responsibility of the nurturing their children and wards. And for the government to put mechanism in place to ensure that Nigerian schools are free of violence. Interesting. And of course, it's a topic for us to look at. Joining me live for this discussion as a school owner, Olushola Bankole. Thanks for joining me on the show. Thank you very much, ma'am.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I think this is one of the most recent occurrences that we've been seeing in schools nowadays. One will wonder what exactly was going on. You look at the conversation around bullying, how some people think that the issue needs to be urgently addressed, but a few others say it's a way of to mold children into the real world of things. But what, in your own opinion, is actually the issues we're facing here?
All right. Definitely, the problem foundationally is poor family values, societal values. That's a problem. I mean, if we have our values rightly placed and followed, definitely. I mean, it may happen once in a while, and maybe insignificant kinds, but not such as as violent and maybe impacting as the ones we see around. If the values of a society, our national values in this sense, and then that of the most minute part of a society or a community, which is a family, is not properly placed. If it is more about what do society think I am, how do I make more money, and all of that, without considering character development, that will be a lot of. We'll keep seeing this. We have talked about it. Over time, it keeps coming and coming and coming. And if you look at this particular case, it's related issues. Okay, if we look at the individual children concerned, including the bystanders, the ones that were taking the video coverage, those that were there watching, and possibly even some of the staff, because one of the girls mentioned a staff who came around to say what was happening, possibly couldn't even offer anything. You will definitely know that the value system of such individuals, stemming from the family and then considering the societal values, are very misplaced. That's the problem.
So, when you talk about family values, it looks as if when this thing happens, the parents of the bullying child, I'm just using general word, they fend like, okay, what is happening here? But looking at it, how do we begin to address some of these issues right from the family value system? Because a child doesn't just wake up and say he or she wants to be a bully. Something must have happened somewhere. Is either he or she has seen it with the parents or somebody who is a caregiver to him or her. How do we begin to address all of these issues?
Yeah, you see, all of us, every stakeholder, the school system, the educational system entirely, parents. Before anyone even become a parent, and this time around, possibly going back to even these young people, we need to train them on what it takes to be a parent. Being a parent is not just bringing forth a child. Oh, I get pregnant, and then I go to hospital, and boom, a child is here. All right, all I just need to do is to get money, get you know, things to give the child. You eat, you go to school. That's no. And therefore, it is necessary, knowing that, okay, we are also handling Gen Zs. That's what they are called. There are dynamics that are required in training them. So parents need knowledge in parenting. It's not assuming that, don't do this, you can. No, there are a lot of structures. And good enough, we have a lot of parenting academies and organizations all around. For us as a school, of course, I'm an educator, we involve some of those parenting organizations to even come talk to our parents. And as well, we have structured procedure where, you know, the policies of the school are made clearly known and understood and agreed to by the parents. And part of those policies involve the issue of parenting, how to parent, what does it entail? What are the things you should, you know, from when they are very young. Okay, let me give you an instance. When children are really young, say like a 2, 3, 4, they want to join you in the kitchen to cook, they want to help you to cut things, and most parents will say, oh, it's dangerous, don't let them come near. No, that's not how to parent. You need to get them engaged at that time, at their level. Of course, you won't give a child a sharp knife. There are plastic knives. You can give the child a piece of tomato on a small plate. Let the child cut as you are doing your own. That child is learning some values that I need to do this. Because when they are getting to an age, especially towards teenage, they don't want to do those things. That's when you want them to do it. But when you have groomed them to be doing some of those things at the early age, when they are getting to that age when they don't even want to do it, that's why the Bible, for instance, says, train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he won't depart. A lot of us start to parent children when it's too late. And like you mentioned, some of those children had seen issues, had problems, you know, seen all those things in maybe with their own parents. Maybe father eating the mother or mother eats, because that is both ways nowadays. You know, if that child grows in that environment, you will expect, you know, some bullying, some violence from that child. As a matter of, maybe not even because the child intrinsically wants to do it, but because environment matters to a child. Same thing. I said the society is also guilty, including the government. We see a lot of ways that even government is bullying Nigerian citizens. We need to stop it. We need to look at it. Government agencies I was reading an article this morning on a social media platform. When someone is reporting that Oworo Shoki bus stop, there is a problem. There is like 5 lanes of parking, you know, to drop passengers. Yeah. 2 are for private, 3 are for public transport, commercial vehicles. But and the positioning is so hidden that you may not see it well, especially when you are driving a car. And then you enter, you feel, okay, this is bus stop or car park. Yeah. And you park, and the people are there to come pick you. That is bullying. Those things affect the psyche of people. It affects how they think, how they act or react. Though we should another thing that is important is emotional intelligence. Everybody, every Nigerian, and if possible, TV stations, you know, you are doing well, you know, you can also carve out maybe a portion, even on I remember, you know, way back there, and then the National Orientation Agency need to help out. In those days when we were young, there are songs that you will hear. Those songs shape our behaviors because you keep hearing. When it was SAP, Structural Adjustment Program, there are songs that go with it. Andrew, no, check out to Nigeria Go Survive. Yeah. These songs are still in our brain.
Nigeria Go Survive.
Yes, go survive. You understand. So those are ways of molding the value system, building the value system of a society. At the home front too, you know, whether they are Muslims or Christians, there are, you know, inherent ways of building children to be strict.
Okay, so
if we follow, we'll get it.
So there's a trend that I also like us to probably trace. You know, when these bullies happen, you see that most time schools tend to take a backseat. When I say schools tend to take a backseat, they tend to look at when probably the person who is being bullied, you know, reports. You see that they don't want to address the issue. They want to try and curb it and not let it not get to the social media, let it not get outside. You find such issues out until when the parents of the person who was bullied come out and say, this has been happening. So who do we blame in the case of bullying? You know, because the schools are also, you know, a major part of it. They don't want they don't want people to talk out.
All right. Anyway, you know, sometimes some things happen as form of lessons for some of us. This one that happened is a lesson. And I want to believe that every school owner should take a cue from this positively by checking. You know, at a point, you know, I advocated that every school should have living policies. And what did I mean by that? Not policies that are dead. A lot of schools are beautiful documents, just like Nigerian society. Beautiful, beautiful documents saying we'll do this, 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 this. Implementation becomes a problem. Let me share what I do, and which I've shared with a number of schools, and that is make your policies living. We have on our timetable, just like you have subjects, on our calendar, not as subjects, there is a day we call Policy Day. We're going to talk to children, remind them, okay, policies that have to do with children that they need to know. We may pick one or two in a term. As that keeps coming, the children get aware. And the procedure of, you know, activating it. If you do this, this is what will happen. If you go this route, this is what's going to be the result. We have days for staff. We have, you know, during our PTF meeting every term, when it is the general PTF meeting, one of the items on the agenda is the policy, one of the policies that relate to parents. So with that coming up, everybody is aware. I remember in those days, I'm always connecting these things with what happens in the society. You know, way back, you know, many people don't use seatbelt. Yeah. We just felt it's not. But at a point when the campaign became so, and then people get arrested, you're not using your seatbelt and all of that. Everybody became aware. So it is important. And that's why I'm hoping, I'm begging, I'm pleading that the National Orientation Agency need to take this issue of bullying as something to also handle. There should be campaigns on TV stations, on radio stations in the different Nigerian languages, even bringing it down to the local governments. You know, they did well then. They should wake up and help. Because you see, when people are aware of something, the tendency of the consistent happening of such will reduce drastically. You know what is going to be the consequence. So for instance, those children, when they know that, oh, with this happening, if a teacher comes, and if the teachers around also that saw, or the adults that saw that happening, also knows that if you don't do something to address it, something is going to happen to you negatively. I'm sure a number of people are going to adjust, and there will be less record of bullying.
You know, just one more question. What are the factors relating to bullying, associated with bullying, and how do we address those factors? We started with, factors include parental, background. What do the parents see as the values of bringing up children, and how do they raise their children? Do they not care about, how a child responds to even aggression? What the child should do. Parents should specifically train their children, or at least get their children to go to where they can get trained. Then school system, should know that this is going to damage the image of, we are in the era where you can't keep any of such information. If it's not a child, it may be a student. It may be, if it's not a student, it may be a teacher that will capture it and may just be talking with somebody and the thing goes viral. They may not even be able to trace who actually eventually sent it out. Then our government, the National Orientation Agency, I'm pleading, they should also, take their part and do what is right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back to our story on the Suleja Correctional Center. Joining me live on Zoom, of course, is Mr. Chidi. Mr. Chidi, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, yeah. Morning.
Okay, so Mr. Chidi, if you can hear me, let's begin with what you think will likely be the potential of getting the remaining 106 escapees back. How do you think that can happen?
I don't know if you are here.
I can't hear them.
Reaction. Yeah. What's happening?
Okay, so I was saying that, Mr. Chidi, if you can hear me, how do we, get back these 160 inmates back to the Suleja Correctional Center?
Okay, fine. I was just trying to say. By the way, are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Very well, then. I was saying that the first step we ought to have taken was to put out the pictures and profiles of those, prisoners who let loose on display, public display, so to enable Nigerians be able to help out. But that should have been that ought to be the right thing to do. But that never happened. As far as I'm concerned now, there's nothing you expect the average man on the street to do to help out, because they don't know who are these guys on the loose. So talking about the prospects are there if we put our intelligence assets, to use. So the guys who works in the correctional facility, aided by probably the DSS and police, police should be able to identify them. But I think that the mistake has already been made. The next 24 hours, we ought to have had the pictures and profiles of these guys on display. That assuming we actually had the right data. So this calls to question: do we really have, profiles of our inmates? Do we have the data on our hands, so that when things like this happen, should be able to know who you are declaring wanted? So that's my initial response.
Okay, there are calls, especially from residents relocating the medium security correctional center to another location. Is this a good idea? What's your take on that?
Pardon me, the network was playing out. What did you say? I didn't get to hear the last one.
Okay, so I was saying that there are calls from residents of that particular location, in Suleja, that the correctional center should be relocated. Do you think that's a good idea? Okay. If you can hear me, Mr. Chidi, I'm saying that there are calls from the residents of that area calling for the relocation of the Suleja Correctional Center. Do you think that this is a good idea?
Can you hear me? Goodness me.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
No, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I was saying that there are calls from the residents of that particular location, I mean in Suleja, saying that the correctional center should be relocated. Do you think this is a good idea?
Yes, I agree with them. And I was trying to say that, indeed, not just the Suleja prison, there are a number of prisons across the country that are actually, situated where they ought not to be. Take, for instance, the Tinubu prisons. Do you know that that particular prison is situated right at the heart of the city? So the people living in Suleja, they know what they are talking about. The prison, where it is in Suleja, is not the right place for it to be. I don't know why it is difficult for us to, do the right thing and when we ought to do. The number of prisons, ought to be shifted inside, away from the center of the town to enable, the security guys to be able to take control of situations. But when you situate such, critical security infrastructure in the middle of the city or middle of the town, you make it prone to all manner of infractions. So I agree with the people who say that the need for them to shift the location. Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the security implication, of having inmates walk around in the midst of people, going around just doing normal daily activities. What do you think is the danger in these, just going around, moving freely, when they are supposed to be back to the correctional center?
The danger is enormous. I mean, they are in prison, for goodness sake. They are inmates. They ought to be isolated from society. They ought to be, put in a way that they understand exactly what they are where they are. It's not put prisoners to be mingling with the outer society. I mean, you are creating security problems for those managing it. You are even creating problems for the people in the outside the walls. So I don't think it's the right thing to do. We should be able to do what other people are doing in other climes. We are not. We shouldn't be lagging behind in every sectors of our life. It's not proper. Just like seeing military barracks, within the borders of the cities. They ought to be, isolated somehow, be away from so you don't have such a possibility of, them being subsumed by the foibles of the society. So I don't think it's the right thing to do to have those guys mingling, with the people in the free society. They are prisoners, by the way. They are convicted. They got to be they got to do some time. Yeah.
Over time, there's been the need to restructure and, of course, renovate and even decongest correctional centers across the country. Do you think this is possible, and how do you feel the government can approach this particular matter, which is very, very germane at this particular point in time?
First of all, we got to understand that prisons is at the heart of the entire security architecture of any country. We're talking about a holding facility. Every security agency have one thing or the other to do with the prison, because whoever have infracted the law will end up in the prisons, except the one we are going to say we are going to kill. So any convicted prison, anyone who's meant to do the time, got it to do with the prisons. So we need to take particular interest in our prisons. Every now and then you see gory pictures of inmates. We need to really take a look at that, so that at the end of the day it will be reformatory, not just punitive. People need to be able to see our prisons helping out the inmates, so that when they come back better persons, not come back looking like animals and then much more desperate, much more more villainous than they were before they went in there. So there's a need for us to put our mouth to that. There's a need for us to put our resources down to make sure that we take a look at that. Because, like I said, prisons are the heart of our security infrastructure, and we must take care of it. We must put attention to it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chidi. Thank you much for joining us on the show. And, of course, it's a conversation that needs to continue, and we just hope the government can be able to do the right thing by renovating and reconstructing some of these correctional centers. Thank you for joining us on the show.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. I appreciate that.
The National Commission for Refugees and Internal Displaced Persons, in collaboration with the UN Refugee Agency, is working on plans to repatriate about 20,000 Nigerians stranded in Cameroon and Chad. Both agencies disclosed this to journalists after a technical working group meeting in Abuja.
Nigeria in 2022 experienced one of the worst flood disasters, which left many displaced. Displacement in the country was also made worse by conflict, clashes, and impacts of climate change. Some of the displaced persons, due to proximity, spilled into Cameroon and Chad. According to the records of the National Commission in charge of refugees and displaced persons in Nigeria, about 21,000 Nigerians are in Chad and more than 120,000 in Cameroon. In 2023, about 5,000 Nigerians were brought in from Cameroon. The plan this year is to repatriate 6,000 people from Chad and 14,000 from Cameroon within the next 2 months.
Because repatriation is voluntary. Already an agreement has been signed between Nigeria, the UNHCR, and the Cameroon in the area of repatriation of our people from Cameroon. Arrangement is also ongoing to ensure that the same agreement between Nigeria, UNHCR, and the Republic of Chad is also been signed. Today, our meeting resolved that we are going to work towards repatriating our people from Chad and also to continue the repatriation of our people who are living in Cameroon.
Once they come and cross into the country, again, we continue to work with the government to identify where they're being settled, the immediate needs, but also in terms of their documentation, in terms of all other support services that are required, that these are accessible and they're able to benefit from that.
UNHCR acknowledged the importance of observing the rights of the displaced persons and the need for Nigeria to grant their request to be returned to the country.
And now let's go to some entertainment news. Wizkid and Davido have set social media ablaze with fiery and confrontational jabs at each other. Formerly known as Twitter as the battleground for the feud that has been both Nigerians act trending across all the social media platforms. What is also called beef among music lovers is not new to Davido and Wizkid, as they have been arch rivals for years throughout their respective illustrious career. And of course, the National Film Video Census Board says Nollywood filmmakers produced 274 films in first 3 months of 2024. It received a classified figure of movies produced by the Nigerian film industry in the last quarter of the year. Films in English language constitute a chunk of the films produced during the period under review. And the weekend is set to premiere at the Breakout Festival in New York. A drama thriller, a film produced, will premiere at the prestigious festival in New York City from the 5th to 16th of June 2024. The feature, a lengthy film directed by Daniel Emeka Oriahi, produced by Uche Okocha, and executive produced by Babatunwa Adereokun, follows an opera lady who visits the seemingly perfect family on a fiancé and uncovers their sinister secret. Interesting. And Blue Ivy Carter, the 12-year-old daughter of Beyonce and Jay-Z, has joined the voice cast of the upcoming Lion King prequel, Mufasa, the Lion King. And the movie, Blue Ivy voices Kiara, the daughter of King Simba, and Queen Nala, portrayed by her mother Beyonce, would reprise her role from the 2019 photorealistic remake. Directed by Barry Jenkins, known for Moonlight, the prequel delves into Mufasa's origin story and his childhood alongside his brother. Okay, that would be a very lovely movie to watch. And Celine Dion is still fighting to beat illness that altered her singing career. The artist did not allow her battle with an incurable rare neurological disease stop her, as she surprised the fans and posed on the cover of the May issue of Vogue France 2024. Celine Dion gave an honest interview in which she touched on the health issues and other issues. R. Kelly appeals against 20-year sentence has been quashed by the judge, as the Federal Appeals Court has upheld his 20-year prison sentence in Chicago for federal sex crimes. The 7th Circuit U.S. Court ruled against R. Kelly's legal team's argument that his indictment on child enticement and child pornography charges were filed after the statute of limitation lapsed. His legal team was seeking a new sentencing hearing on the appeals court after they claimed the 20-year sentence was unduly hushed. Interesting. And those are some of the stories in entertainment. And now we'll move to sport. And former international Finidi George has been tasked to guide the Super Eagles to victory in two 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying matches against South Africa and Benin Republic in Uyo and Abidjan, respectively. This comes after his announcement as the new head coach of Nigeria Super Eagles, succeeding Jose Peseiro. The 53-year-old is a prominent figure from Nigeria's renowned golden generation, which notably clinched the African Cup of Nations title in 1994 and represented Nigeria's in the first FIFA World Cup finals in the same year. The matches are must-win encounters, with the Super Eagles lagging behind a third place in Group C of the African campaign behind Rwanda and South Africa. Finidi George was placed as head coach of the team after the departure of former coach Peseiro following Nigeria's defeat by Ivory Coast in the 2023 African Cup of Nations final in February. And Nigerian youths have been urged to learn relevant skills in the martial arts and boxing, embrace skills acquisition, and shun away from social vices. Participants at an event to mark the hall of the famed National Amateur Boxing and MMA champions were also advised to seek an advancement in the talent in boxing and martial arts, which could help in checking the unemployment problems and enhancing youth's competence and capabilities. Organizers explain that the initiative is part of the effort to empower participants and raise qualified athletes across Africa and worldwide, reducing poverty to the best minimum on the continent.
I'm quite impressed with the level of performance, and no wonder when they went to participate at the amateur Olympics for Africa in Accra. I've watched about 3 or 4 matches today, and I was quite impressed with the level of professionalism, the level of artistry, and skill they've all shown.
It's just the starting point. I've not gone anywhere yet. But I'm still proud of myself because it wasn't easy. It has helped me on several occasions. All these abuses that they abuse young ladies, I do stand up for myself most at times and defend myself.
I started basketball at 2018. So before I entered boxing, my friends, they were pushing me to do boxing due to my height, my power and everything, and my physics. That was what motivated me to join boxing.
And for lovers of football, there will be matches that are called across Europe, from the English Premiership to La Liga, and of course, the Bundesliga is already decided. Bayer Leverkusen was taking that one, and of course, in the Nigerian Professional League. And that's our show for today. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll come back next week with an interesting and mouth-watering stories to talk about in sports, entertainment, lifestyle, politics, and every other thing. Thank you very much for joining us. I am Ademola Lawrence, and have a very lovely weekend.